Yo, peace, family. What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Doing this again. Oh my god. Yesterday, I forgot to press record, my friend, and we had the most amazing session of discussions ever with Astrid. Um, Today, she has been so kind as to bless us again and to stop through. So, what we're going to do is just be patient and wait for her to arrive. If that's okay with you. She did just text me to let me know she was busy. I also just text her to let her know that I'm about to smoke a blunt. So we're gonna deal with that. How we deal with it. Whew. But just chill out for a bit, relax, vibe. While I separate my.
You ready? Yeah, I'm ready. And it's only back to tell you nothing in advance, but he got you niggas popping up in
She gave the thumbs up that I could smoke a blunt. So what's up?
It's all good. How are you
Oh,
today?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. I made sure to press play to press record this time.
I can see that. It's all nice and shiny and red up here.
How was your day so far?
It's been good, thank you. How about you?
Same as yesterday. I'm following like a new itinerary. So I wake up, get my kid ready for school. I come home, get some work done, take a nap, and then I handle everything else or I go to work in the night. So I'm trying to
Right.
like adjust to this new lifestyle that I'm living of being a productive member of society. Yeah. How are you? How was everything?
It's good. It's been a busy day, but it's great.
I like the
Great to
sweater.
be here.
It
Thank
looks
you.
it looks very warm, but it looks also like you have the sleeves out.
Yeah.
You're showing off the muscles.
Kids. The kids' best arms.
Absolutely. All right. So we actually did not get the intro from yesterday, so you have to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to do that. So, my name is Astrid. I grew up in South Africa and I've been writing fantasy since I was 12. I published my first book just under 4 years ago. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with being a self published author and living the dreams that I've had since I was a kid.
You only published 4 years ago. I did not know that. That is
Yeah.
wow. That
Yeah,
is wild. You have a lot of work done in 4 years.
that's true. But you do have to remember that a large percentage of that was already written. So
Ah,
I just needed to edit it.
I like that's a good note for anyone watching. Like front load. I was actually doing that last night with like my marketing, getting like all my quotes and everything
Mm,
ready for like the next month. Front loading is very, very important in this industry because it makes everything you do more consistent. Because like Amazon doesn't really respond. Like if you have like a giant spike one week and then the next week there's nothing, it
yeah,
doesn't respond to that. Amazon likes consistency.
it does.
So
And what really works, as far as I've seen, is to consistently be putting books out.
exactly.
Because every time you have a release, the spike in activity that leads to on Amazon means that more people find you and then go back to your backlist.
You get a lot of that organic like
Yeah,
promotion from Amazon that if you just publish a book 3 years ago, 5 years ago, all that's done. It's actually the first 30 to 90 days. I
yeah,
learned this from a guy that does Amazon drop shipping. So it's
right.
different, but it's basically the exact same if you're using KDP. So with drop shipping, that first 30 to 90 days is where Amazon kind of selects
Mm,
where it's going to put your product. So if that first 30 days is crazy, then
Yeah.
for the rest of the lifetime of that product, it's going to be great. But if like you publish something, or if anybody publishes something, and you wait like the next business quarter to, so you just release it to release it, but you don't promote it, you ruin the project.
Yes.
So what you did
And
was very, very smart.
I can definitely say that I see the authors who do rapid releases, you can
Mhm.
see how it works in their favor,
Absolutely.
because they'll drop the first book and they'll have the pre-order on for the second one and possibly even the third one already when they drop the first book. And then within those 60 days, they drop the second book.
Absolutely.
And that boosts the first one in that first 90-day period. And then, that then lifts it up, which means the second book is going to do better as well. And by default, it often spills over into the third and the fourth book.
And it's like from the reader's perspective, it's very psychological. I don't know, like, do you watch YouTube a lot at all? Do you have like any YouTube creators that you enjoy?
I'm not that stuck on YouTube. I do use YouTube as a resource.
Yeah, this is gonna be posted on
Yeah.
YouTube, so that's why.
Yeah. I mean, I have a YouTube page and I do save all my interviews on a playlist that I have.
That's good. I could definitely send you a copy to your email once this is actually recorded and actually saved. Actually,
That'll be great. It's going to go just perfectly today.
it's going wonderful so far.
Yeah.
Damn, I was gonna like show on something, but it's very like psychological from a reader's perspective. So I was gonna say YouTube. It's like if you have a YouTube creator that you really like, YouTube is very like rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid
Mhm.
fire. That like the top creators are releasing something every day.
Yeah.
If like it's not the highest quality, every single day they're releasing something. Even if it is like great quality, every month, every week, because it's like how irrelevant does someone kind of fall like out of your mindset if there's
Yeah.
like a million other things that you can be reading or a million other things that you can be watching, and then actual things that are productive that you have to do, you're always faced with. So if like someone's not releasing work consistently, you can't really build that rapport, you can't really build that relationship. They're just waiting and waiting and waiting for your content, and then
That's
they have
right.
to find something else to fill that gap.
And it's also the case of, well, then they often forget about you because
Exactly.
there's the hot new thing that came in last week and they're not going to keep track of you. And yes, of course, there are readers who follow authors on Amazon or on Goodreads to
Yeah.
get the updates, but those are rarer. You're more likely to have someone who reads your book, absolutely loves it, goes, oh, well, the next one isn't here yet. Okay, well, I'll move on. And then if you're lucky, they'll remember your book like 5 years down the line and go and look for
Absolutely.
you. But if they can find you, because they won't be able to remember the title of the book or the name, they'll just remember the experience. So
Absolutely.
it is definitely a good strategy to have a body of work that you're ready to publish
And ready to like
and then to
really push.
keep going consistently, because this is definitely something I've seen with some authors. There's an author who published a 5-book series I absolutely adored. It was absolutely wonderful, made my top picks for the year that I read it in. And then the year after, she published another series and it was, super popular. Everything was moving very well. And then she fell off the face of the earth. I have no idea what happened to her. She's not on Instagram anymore. She's not on Facebook. I don't see her. I haven't seen any new books. And, you wonder, well, what happened to the author? I have checked her Amazon page, no new books. And so, I know life happens, things get tough. But, if that is the case and you are a author who has a following, well, let your readers know. If something happens, just put up a post. Look, I'm going through a tough time. Just, wait for me. Or join this group while you're at it or something. It's like,
I think I think being an author more than other things, it really gets to people. It's like with painting, your value is going to increase over time exponentially. With being an actor or working in like film or working in like screenplays, you're going to have a captive audience. But what someone else also put to me, because they're like, someone in my kid's class, his mother is like in Juilliard right now as like a writer. So it's like what she was explaining is that when she's writing scripts, the entire thing is a very collaborative process
Mm.
where she's constantly working with actors, working with directors, working
Mm.
with it's like it's a very being an author is so it can be so isolating, and your readers really may not show how close they are to you.
Yeah.
They really not like what made me realize it was that I'll do like the Amazon free books, like you stated yesterday, but we did not
Yes.
get recorded
Yes.
because of somebody. But like it would like be kind of weird sometimes because some books would do like really, really, really well, like amazing, like far beyond expectation. Some books would do like the average, like 100 to about 200, and I was like, okay. And that consistency with like, there's like 100 to 200 people that whenever Amazon is telling them that my work is available for free, they want it.
Mm.
But then I released one book. It was two books actually. I released like horror stories for brown folks, which did like incredible. It became like a free bestseller. People loved it. It wasn't even my best work. It wasn't even something that I really, but it was something that kind of chronicled the very, 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 very first short story I ever wrote before I got serious about this, mixed with something that I wrote in the middle of that and something that I wrote rather recently that people can kind of, and it's completely, I usually write romance. It was like horror, paranormal, thriller.
Mm.
So it was like something very different from what I usually, but I wrote one book, Divine Intercession, that was amazing. Like, written wise, actual story content, editing, it was the best book at that time that I had wrote, in my opinion. It was fantastic in every way, shape, or form. The exact same kind of, but it was a religious book. You
Mm.
know, it was a Christian book. It was about
Right.
angels beating demons. It wasn't about demons taking over the earth and winning. It wasn't about glorifying like any of this other that's in the world. It was a Christian. 5 people bought it. And then I was like, I felt kind of, but I was like, those are the 5 people that are really fucking down for me.
Right.
And I got to find out who these people are and reverse engineer that because it's great. It really, it feels amazing when like thousands of people, you know, it feels great. But when only 5 people respond to something that you're really like passionate and serious about, it's kind of like if you had like if everyone was in the room right now and you had those 5 people here right now, how much greater of an experience would that be compared to
Absolutely.
trying to fit thousands of people who are
Into the
just
room.
there for they're just there for the food essentially.
And the thing is, something that I've realized is that those five become your biggest fans. Those 5 will be posting to tell their friends about your next release without you even asking them to do so. They will be clamoring for your next book. They will join your review team. They will help you with anything you ask them to do. And that's the first step of the snowball, because as we discussed yesterday, it's like a snowball takes time to build. It takes time to get bigger. And you need to start small. You need to like really pack it up together and then roll it and get it bigger, because otherwise it's just going to crumble.
You need that
And
momentum.
you need the effort and the energy. You need the structure, because you need to obviously make it proper. And it's helpful if you have the right kind of snow.
Yeah.
So, if you've
And like
got your marketing strategy right, you can put your book in front of the right people who are going to enjoy it.
absolutely.
And they will then talk about it, which then gets a snowball rolling and helps with the momentum. But it is work, and it does require sticking with it. It's tough, absolutely. As you've mentioned, there are times where it's very lonely work, which is why I personally have gone the route of I connect with other authors. It's what I do. I talk to other authors about their work. I talk to all of my followers about books and we just talk. And
Absolutely.
some people you connect with and other people you don't connect with, and some people follow you and others
You need
unfollow
those
you, and it's
relationships.
cool. You just move on. But the thing was, what I found was, in the beginning I pushed my books all the time. It was all I was talking about, and that didn't work for me.
Mm.
What did work for me was connecting with other authors who, in the first like experience of this, it was other authors reviewing each other's books, and we would actually, form up groups, and we'd each read somebody else's book in a sort of round robin style,
Mhm.
and then leave a review, and then we'd do another round 6 weeks later.
That's a
And it
great
was too
idea.
intense, and it did peter out after the fourth or fifth books that we did, also because the organizer was incredibly careful at pairing up people to read the books so that there were no review swaps, etc., etc. She was incredibly careful to make sure that it was going to work really well, but that meant that it was too much work for her to do, to maintain.
Especially for free.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The point is that the author community is, I had this really strange experience last year with another author. I reached out to her about one of my charity anthologies and asked her if she'd be interested in reviewing it. And the reply I got was, "I'm sorry, I don't review books because of the conflict of interest." And I was like, wait, what? It's like, you think I'm your competition? That there's a conflict of interest?
Yes, they really
And
do.
there are actually authors who believe this.
They
Now, what
really
truly
do.
upset me about that particular situation was that this specific author has received hundreds of reviews from other authors of her own books, but she doesn't go to them and say, no, you can't leave this review, it's a conflict of interest because we are in competition. No, she accepts their reviews, but she won't give another review. I mean, the point was, it was a moot point in any case, because I don't review under my author name. I review as a reviewer. I have a reader blog, and my reader persona is not my author persona, and that's cool.
No.
And it's good to keep those separate.
There are haters and there are amplifiers.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
it's so true. And then there's the silent majority that won't tell you nothing.
Yeah.
But there are some stone cold, and it's almost like they're really just selfish. That's it. Like that individual just wants everyone to worship her, and there's no outward reflection of reciprocation. She has all those reviews from authors, but she did not
reciprocate.
any of
And
that.
it's like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Be that way. If that's good for you, that's good for you. But that sure ain't good for me. And so for me, what's important is the community. I received help from the author community when I started out. So I'm one of those who likes to reach out a helping hand and return the favor. And it's the connections. I love the connections. I love the stories. I love the fact that it's all about stories and making stories the best they can be. And that's important to me.
You can't really get to know an author as a person in their own life until you've read their work. It's for someone to spend that much time working on something, you are never going to fully have the relationship you want until you see what they're working on. Because it's like I've explained it to my partner. It's like my children.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't like my kids, and someone doesn't want to be around my kids, and someone's going to insult, do I really want this person around? If I can't bring my kids around you, if I got to find a babysitter every time, that means I got to kind of muzzle myself about talking about my art. I have to I can't mention that I'm doing this amazing and I'm creating this amazing universe because you're single and you don't got no fucking kids. It's smart to hang out with other authors because it's in that way. It's like hanging out with other parents. Or hanging out with other married couples. It makes everything you do so much easier because they understand exactly what you're dealing with, exactly what you're going through.
Totally agreed. And the other thing that I've found is that I've learned so much from other authors.
Exactly.
We're all figuring things out for ourselves.
Sorry.
But when we actually work together, we can achieve even more. And so I find yes, it's good to do your own thing and write your own stories, but it is also great to, branch out and actually work on collaborative things as well, because you not only have the group project to work on, you also have the opportunity to learn from the other authors, and then you have the benefit of everyone promoting a single product,
Absolutely.
which allows you a much bigger reach and also has the cross pollination where their readers find you and your readers find them, which
Two
is
things. It's like, to piggyback directly off of that, you create an engagement group. So it's like when everyone's able to like each other's stuff, everyone's able to engage and comment, everyone helps each other elevate to a new level. It's very hard to organize that. But it's also important. This isn't like I don't want to say but, because but is usually like a contradiction, more so or moreover. When you do have the work to yourself, that enables you to bring a lot more to the group as well. When you have like that private time to hunt, you can find places where other people aren't usually hunting. You can find watering holes and you can find areas where other people haven't been yet. You can find different information in different ways that other people haven't tried. And you also can present things that straight up don't work and
yeah.
no one's ever done before because they just don't work. And then people can tell you, but it's like everyone also like both things need to be true. I feel like people go in like these extremisms where it's like I have to be by myself, and like Batman, it's like you have to be alone and you have to be brooding and you have to shut out the world, and it's very tempting. It's very like
Well,
hermetic.
I think the current ideology and books, a lot of books,
Yeah,
drive that. Movies drive it too.
because
If you just
it's fake
just off the top,
masculinity.
if it just off the top of my head, the concept of partnership is falling by the wayside in current trends with storytelling and
Yeah.
with how we talk about life. So, for example, just a quick example is the new Star Wars movies
Mhm.
or series, even for that matter, the TV series for that matter. But I mean, if you think about Rey, she does everything on her own. She like there's no one there to help her. No one's good enough to help her.
Yeah,
And she has to do it all on her own. Like, what kind of message is that for people? I mean, it's a
it's
highway to burnout. And I can say this from personal experience because
it's fake
I put
masculinity.
myself last for forever. And that doesn't work. You have to work in partnership with people.
Mhm.
You cannot run a family, for example,
By
on your
yourself.
own. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
You
That was a great example. That's a
it's
great example.
terrible. And it's the same thing with, so yes, there are elements of the writing process that are you, but it is collaborative. And most importantly, the production process for your final product has to be collaborative. You
Yeah.
cannot do it all yourself because you are going to run into a wall if you
But also,
keep doing that. And then, of course, there's the issue of product quality. When you
I
have
agree.
quality people helping you to work on your book, you create a quality product. Now, one thing that we touched on yesterday, but that I'd actually like to clarify even
I'm listening.
more strongly here is the case of editing. Because when you write, your ability is to write is directly proportionate to how much you have learned of the language.
Exactly.
So you can produce something to a quality that matches your language ability, and so hence will be good for people who match your language ability or are lower. But obviously, if you want to reach the people who are higher than you with their language ability, you will need someone with a greater skill
It's
than
true.
you to help you polish that work up. Okay,
That's
and
very
yes, I
true.
know it's really hard to find editors who are truly skilled
We're actually
and
editors,
are editors
and
because
not
there's
reviewers trying to charge you more money.
yes, exactly. But it's hugely important. Is an analogy I like to use for this is the idea of you wouldn't send a toddler to university. You know, the idea would not cross your mind to send a toddler to university because the toddler isn't ready for that yet. So
Facts.
why do you send an unedited book out into the world? Because it's about the equivalent thing of what you're doing.
Ego,
Yeah.
ego.
Yeah.
You hear those stories of like parents sending kids. That's very. Oh my god, that's so interesting. That it's like relates to the parent teachers conference from Friday, and like he's 3 years old. He can read. He does math. He knows all his colors. Like this kid is sharp, 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 sharp. And
Good.
it's
Good
like a
for
kind of
him.
struggle right now because he's 3 years old. Yeah, it's amazing. I was a stay-at-home dad for 3 years, so that's what we did. If your dad's an author,
Yeah.
you gotta know how to do language and read. I can't fucking produce you to the world, and you can't. Yeah, but whatever. It's like he right
But
now
the
he's
thing
in a
is, let the kid be a
hold on, hold
kid.
on,
Let
hold
the
on,
kid
hold
have
on.
experiences. Yes,
Exactly.
go for it.
So he's in a class with like 4-year-old kids, 5-year-old kids right now, and he's smarter than a lot of these kids, but socially he's behind a little bit. So to go on with your example of sending a toddler to university, I do see examples of kids who are 10 years old, who are 7 years old, who have an amazing capacity for intellect, who are going to universities, who are graduating from college. But I had a teacher, Mr. Terenzi, told me he was teaching like science or chemistry. He's like, if and fucked him up so much because he was one of those advanced, gifted, prophetic students. But it's like once you get into those grades and you aren't emotionally, socially there, you haven't really connected as much. It's also very hard to navigate. It does a
Yeah.
lot more diminishing returns. It does a lot more damage too, because you're trying to push something where it really doesn't need to be. And
Yeah.
it's going to get beat up so cruelly. It's going to
Yes.
face so much ridicule that can be completely unnecessary had you just accepted that, hey, maybe this is an urban fiction book rather than this is the next American classic. Hey, maybe this isn't, maybe, and it's like more so my point is like putting a book inside the wrong genre and how much
Yes.
that can affect your marketing, how much that can like really plummet everything.
Yeah.
I think if the ideal of yesterday was how much work you have to do yourself, today is like there's a lot of preparation that goes into before you publish a book and identifying where your book needs to be, identifying exactly who your
Yeah.
market, who your niche is.
Research is really important, and that's
Everything.
another thing. A lot of authors, I think, get the impression that, okay, I've written a book, now it's ready, I'm good to go. But
Nah,
but there's a process. There's the learning, the actual art of writing, and then there's learning how to put that into, to create your story idea into something that
yeah.
is a book.
Then you got to sell it.
And then you've got to polish it up and produce it. But that also means that you need to know who you're going to sell it to, because
Exactly.
that's a process in and of itself too. Because if you don't know who you're going to market it to, you can't decide what kind of cover you need, because the covers are very, very heavily genre specific. I mean, down to the font you use for the author name depends on which genre you're in. It's really, really specific. And the people who like the genre, whichever genre it is, can see it from the covers. They
Yeah.
see the cover and the cover speaks to them. This is like that book I really loved. And it's all subliminal. So you
Yeah.
need someone who knows what they're doing, but you also need to know the categories and what it is that you're aiming for. What are your keywords? What's your purpose with the book and who you're aiming for? And that also takes time to learn. And then if you're going the self-publishing route, you need to learn the ins and outs of
You're
publishing and
doing
the
most
ins
of
and
it
outs of
yourself.
marketing and the ins and outs of finding the right editor for your book, because everything is a process. So yes, a lot of authors really get ahead of themselves because they really want to get the book out there and they're so excited, and then you hit a stumbling block of one or other type. Either it's because the product is not good enough, or is, whether that's in terms of the editing or in terms of the cover
Story.
itself, that the cover doesn't speak to the right people, or it's because then you're out there on social media and you have no idea what to say, and they can't talk about your book because it's so weird doing that and being out there. And then the marketing fails, and this is the thing. So having you have to learn all these things, so you have to put in time long before you get any returns. And I think that's something that makes writing one of the toughest creative
Mhm.
endeavors, because you have so much you need to achieve before you're going to begin to see returns. And I mean, as we discussed yesterday, I am quite successful as an author,
You're
but I'm
beyond.
not making money off my books yet. I'm still getting a tax break on my my imprint because it's not making any money. I
I
spend
think
more on producing my books than I get back. But I am seeing an increase each year. I earn just a bit more. And so, over time, I can see that that's something, although that is not the main reason why I published my books. There
Yeah.
were other more important reasons for me to do it.
I think that's one of the most important similarities and distinctions is that you're the one that definitely taught me about quality. You're definitely the first one that made me really focus upon how do my books come across to other people, and are my books actually readable for someone who's not even American, talking about American history and things like that. But I think what I was going to say more so is like the sales and marketing aspect of this. I think that is the grand divide between a lot of these people.
Mm.
I see people publish one book. It's not the best book. It's not the longest book, but they will sell and market that book, that one book, like
Yeah.
it's their only child.
Yes.
And it's like it blows the water. People that are actually talented, people that are actually like working on this. First, I would like to tell people that like if you're starting out, like it's going to take you years.
Mm.
Like even if you start a business takes 2 to 5 years before it even gets off the ground.
Yeah.
And then you have a decade in. 10 years is when you're going to decide whether or not the business is going to be successful.
Successful or not,
People want this so quickly. And it's like when they want it like that, you can kind of see like you don't really understand what you're getting yourself into. You're not getting out of having a job. You're not getting out of climbing a corporate ladder. It's just a different struggle,
Yeah.
Just
Because
like if
it's a long game. Yeah. It's
exactly.
that.
It's like if you just start working for Google tomorrow, essentially work for Amazon, who are they going to promote? They're going to promote the people that make Amazon the most money. So if you're putting in the most advertising dollars, or if you're selling the most books that they get a cut off of, that's what they're going to promote and that's what they're going to push.
Yeah.
The quality is what's going to get other people to refer your product.
Yeah.
But the sales aspect is that most people are doing the wrong. Marketing is what you do before you sell a product.
Yes.
Before your product hits social media is not within itself marketing.
No.
It's like curation. I think a better word for Instagram is curation. For Facebook, it's connection. For LinkedIn, it's hiring. For Twitter, it's connection again. But Twitter is also just blurbing.
Yes.
Twitter is a great place to put book blurbs. But what works the best is convert. You have to focus on converting people.
Yeah.
You got to take strangers that you've never met before, who have no idea who you are. And within this when you first meet them, and I would say when people first follow you, engage, say hi. Don't let people just follow you and don't say
absolutely. The strategy I use is a welcome message. I introduce myself briefly, to tell them like 2 sentences about what I write, and then I offer them a free book because I have a perma-free book for this purpose, so that people can test my work. And yes, 90% of them. 90% of those who actually click the link and download the book will probably not go on to read my other works at this stage. But the point is, I can go back because you see, Instagram, for example, has a thing that you can't send more than 50 messages an hour. But that's only the first message. Once you have established contact, you can send as many messages in an hour as you want to. And so that's something I did last year. I was managing a charity anthology called Enchanted Forests, which raises money for Rainforest Foundation. And this one, I had time. I was not working at the time that we were building a review team for it. So I went and I messaged every single person on my Instagram contact list, so every single one of my followers, in the space of 3 months. I think I did about 200 an hour, and then I take a break and do another bunch later in the afternoon, and then I do that every day for 3 months. And we had over 400 signups.
God bless it.
And the thing is, this is another thing that authors do not seem to understand, is people can pledge themselves to review your book. You cannot
We froze for a second there.
What's happened? Are we back? Okay. Yeah, you cannot expect everyone to come through. In the past 4 years, the average I have seen is 25% comes through.
Yeah,
And
that's still
that,
a good conversion rate.
and the thing is, that has maintained itself even with the charity anthologies. So that charity anthology, in the first week that it was published, or I think it was probably the first 10 days, reached 40 Amazon reviews and 80 Goodreads reviews. And this
Nice.
is the thing, Amazon makes it harder.
That's
So there are
incredible.
fewer people who will be able to leave reviews on Amazon. And now it's what, 10 months since the book published? We have 207 Goodreads reviews and 103 Amazon reviews. So it's like we just, we finally got the 100. But
That's
it's
incredible. That's absolutely
it's
incredible.
numbers. It's a numbers game. So the more people you know, the more people you can reach out to, the more people you can randomly ask to help you on something, whether it's voting for a cover or supporting a book in a contest, like a public reader's choice award, or with reviews. The more people you can reach, the better it's going to go. And the point is that then you've got that ball rolling again.
I
So
think
yes, it takes a lot of work, a lot of time as well.
the major difference between, because we spoke yesterday, we keep referring to yesterday. Yesterday,
Yeah, no, and our poor watchers,
we're
the
so
poor people
tired.
watching.
But the sales mindset and the artist mindset is I'm not poking at it, but the idea of randomly is great for anything that is free. It's great, but it has to be deliberate and intentional when you're asking people to spend money.
Yeah.
It has to be set up around payday or that weekend right after payday when people have that high and they're ready to support, they're ready to generate. And what has worked best for me is reverse engineering every single sale, the people that actually physically buy a product. Because it's like what happened to me is that I started working with Amazon, and I worked with Amazon for like the first 5 years, and they took like 70 fucking percent. And then I found out a way to get that 30% to them, and I took the 70. And then I realized, like, hey, I'm not making like any fucking money off of this. So we changed the entire approach of what we had done. And it's been about 2 years since I've focused on selling anything on Amazon. And that is when I started making actual fucking money, because I started selling my own shit. It's not shit, it's amazing. But I started selling my own products. I stopped, like, when you don't have to make the corporation rich and you're focusing upon making yourself rich, because every author tells me, I just want someone to read my book. Someone may never fucking read your book. They may never fucking read your book. They may not, they don't give a fuck. They really don't. No offense, no to you specifically, but it's, if they buy the book, that is going to increase the likelihood that they read. If they invest money into it and they invest a premium price into it, if they're paying full price for that book, if they could see you face to face, if you can, even if they can't see you face to face, if you can sign it, when that ownership is upon you, because it's like, how much, it doesn't really cost that much to buy your own books. It's like $2.50 to maybe $5.70. I think the most expensive book I have is like $7 per copy to print. You buy about 10 of those books, you can sell 10 a month physically. So where you might sell 100 free books and 25% of people might actually leave a review, you could sell about 10 to 50 books. And now you know the people who aren't really serious, because it's like I was burning out so much energy on people that just want it for free. They just want it for free. They just want it for free. But when it was 99 cents, they didn't want it.
No.
When it was free, it was fine. When it was $2.99, they didn't want it. When it was $20, I couldn't get them all away from it. But when it was $20, and it only cost me $2.15 to print, and I took that 20 and I made it 10, they clamor for it. They want it. People want a good deal, and they want a win situation. people won't support you because the win-win situation isn't created. If it only benefits them, they feel guilty. And it's hard
Yes.
for them to support. It's hard for them to finish because they feel like they took advantage of you. When you give
That
people
is
a
true
great
too. Yeah.
price, yeah, it's
Yeah.
I'm going through it.
Yeah, it's true. It's
I'm
true. It's
trying. I'm
psychology.
trying. You know, like, and it's like it's a hustle. Like, you don't have to go out there and stand by the gas station. I had someone talk me out of this. I bought like a bunch of copies of my books. I was gonna go to the gas station and just stand there and just busk and
Mm.
just sell them. And she was like, "Don't." She's like, "Don't fucking do that."
It's
Like,
one way to do it. I mean,
don't.
and it's definitely it's true that the personal connection of
That's
actually
what it is.
meeting people face to face makes a huge difference.
That's what it is. It's
Because
like when you read Harry
readers want to
Potter,
know
you
the
feel like you
authors.
know J.K. Rowling. When you read Game of Thrones, you feel like you're really connecting with Georgia. They spent an endless amount of time working on this problem. When you read that book, you feel like you're really intimately connecting with this person. And that was the people that paid money. We built that rapport, we
Mhm.
built that relationship, or
Yeah.
they wanted to build that
Yeah.
relationship with me. And it's like the people that got it for free, they didn't, just like your woman that you mentioned, like they didn't care if I fell off the face. If I took a break from Instagram, they didn't check on me. If
Mm.
I was going through something psychologically, they didn't care. If my grandma died, no one cared that my grandma
Mm.
died. No one cared that it was my birthday. You know, it's like, but there are people there there's 5 people, they care so much.
Yeah.
So I came upon like the 1000 true fans method, that is basic. If you have 1000 people that are down for you, that are really there for you, that will cross the country to see you, that would visit you in another nation just to spend some time with you or just to see you speak, those 1000 people are more valuable than the millions and the hundreds of
Mm.
thousands of fake followers that all these
Yeah.
celebrities have, that don't care whether
Absolutely.
once these celebrities die is over, no one
Mm.
cares. But those 1000 people will care. Those 1000 people can generate you $100,000 a
Mm.
month, $100,000 a year,
Mm.
depending of a $10 a month. Those 1000 people can produce about $100,000 a year for you.
Yeah.
And people really just kind of underestimate the value of just
A core.
intimacy,
Yeah. A core group.
just
Yeah.
having that relationship and building that. Just like you said, she could have made a Facebook group, she
Mm.
could have had a Twitter feed, and you just, hey, I'm not feeling well today.
Yeah.
You know how many people will swoon over a young woman, even like a middle aged, tell a young woman, I don't feel pretty today. They will
Mm.
shower them with
Yeah.
affection.
Yeah.
I feel so sad. It feels so, they shower you with sympathy. To feel like you have to deal, it's like even then you can't do it alone. There's so much you said that I wanted to respond to
Yeah.
from yesterday and for today. So just I feel so pimped up today. It's like you can't do it alone, because even if you run a business, you're working with your customers, you're working with your clientele, you're working with your distributors, you're working with the people that sell the products that you need, you're working with the repair people. It's a village. It's
It
everything.
is a village. Yeah.
It's a community. It has, and you have to build those relationships, especially if you want to scale. Thank
Yeah.
God I didn't post any bad reviews for Amazon. They could have took all my books down, and then I wouldn't be able to buy my books from them to sell to the people they were trying to sell them to.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
same thing with Ingram Spark. I had like a really heated like email frustration with Ingram Spark when I started using them, because it's like I'm trying to push my books out there to a brand new fucking level. It's like, why is your software so difficult to use? Like, why am I
Use. Yeah.
paying for a worse experience than Amazon or with Lulu? It doesn't make sense. And they got really snippy with me, and they're like, "Oh, what is it?" And I'm going to tell you this. I can tell that you all do not know how to use your own software, and I
Mm.
can tell that you all are not readily using your software repeatedly because it doesn't make any sense why it functions this way.
Yeah.
And then they fix their shit.
Great.
No, like,
Wonderful.
they send me some free. They send me free sign. The one thing with Ingram Spark that I will say positively is that once you do invest in Ingram Spark, they send you a lot of free stuff.
Okay.
They send you a lot of free uploads. You still have to buy your IBSN. You still have to own your copyright, but that protects you. And then you
Yeah.
own your shit. Amazon doesn't own it. They don't
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
But they once you do invest in Ingram Spark, they send you a lot of free, like too much free shit.
Okay.
If you don't have 100 IBSNs, it's too much for shit. But
But
that's
that
that's
you just mentioned something about the, oh goodness, sorry,
sorry, I
it's
went
gone.
off.
It's gone again. But it's this thing of thinking
Community.
about the customer is,
Yeah,
and using and really like working from the customer as your viewpoint.
exactly.
And yes, I understand. I'm personally not the kind of person who writes to market. That's not how I write. I write for me and then I edit to the market because I
That's smart.
edit with my customer in mind. And this is the thing is, I believe, or I personally feel that gives it more authenticity, because then the reader gets to see what what's important to me, which makes the reading experience more authentic. But at the same time, they're getting the tropes and the setup that they're looking for in the specific book that we're talking about. So
Exactly.
I cross genres quite a bit, but so then when I'm editing, I make sure that I hit what the readers of both genres are going to expect,
Mhm.
because otherwise it will flop. There's no other way around that.
I don't.
Yeah,
I think it reaches the people it's supposed to reach.
that's true
It
too.
reaches the people that it can reach at that time. And I
Mm,
would tell people the best way to really understand your target audience is to understand who you were when you first started writing.
yeah.
What really inspired you to, it's like every single business, because it's like I feel like people, you have to have it in this frame of mind to make money off of it. It is a business at this point. There are
Yes.
expenses. If you take care of those expenses, everything else is profit. If you take care of all the debt, everything else is profit. So your target audience is essentially you. If you
Mm,
were a reader, if you loved this, then the goal is not simply just to sell your books. You are selling the reading experience. You are
yes.
selling people that have been reading since they were children that nostalgia. You're selling adults that want to feel intelligent, that knowledge. You're selling people with fucked up lives, self-help books and solutions. It's like you need, if you're going to make money off of it, you have to position things in which you're solving a problem for people.
Yeah.
And what I said yesterday is like I wrote for there's even if I want to watch TV right now, there's not a lot of black TV shows I even like, to
Mm,
be completely honest with you. And I don't mean that in like a self-hating Uncle Tom type of way whatsoever. It's just that black people are different, white people are different. We don't all like the same fucking things, like
yes.
excuse my language, but like we don't all like the same things. So there's like I needed something for me. I like anime.
Yeah.
I like nerdy stuff,
Good.
and I needed
Great.
so that was the niche. That was the niche. And it was very difficult accepting that because everyone seems so different than me and everyone seems so, but they're really not. Build that bridge, build that commonality, make your blurbs so that they really like jar people's emotions. You're buying people's attention as the
Yes.
business owner. You want their attention. You have to elicit that curiosity. And if you can't elicit curiosity and you can't be interesting, let them support, so like you're doing, let them support something. I'm not saying you are very interesting. Your books are also very interesting. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant at all. But it's like sell support. Sell them that, hey, you're supporting this. Hey, this is a real human being. And you buying this, you paying the extra amount of money for me to ship this from Sweden to America or from Sweden to Asia, for Sweden to fucking the Polynesian Islands, wherever the hell you're sending your books
Yeah.
to. I don't understand because I sent one book from USA to Australia. It cost me $50.
Mm,
They were appreciative though.
yeah.
You have people that are ready to support you, and they have cash in hand, ready to support you.
Yeah.
Give them something to buy,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna make money off of it. If you're spending all this time improving the quality, if you're spending all this time investing in the network, you have to act. And this is the key. You have to act. It's a deliberate and intentional. It's not random. It's deliberate and it's
Mm,
intentional. You have to ask people to buy. You don't have to
Yes.
be rude. Being people, most artists that I meet hate sales. No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and you can't expect people to buy just because you asked.
You can.
Because well,
Expect the right
it is
you
something that I've
expect the
noticed
right
that
people to buy. Expect the right
yeah,
people to buy. Don't expect
the
the
right
wrong
people.
people. The
Yes,
wrong if it's like at a grocery store, I work at a grocery store. Some people only come for the sales.
yes.
They're only they it's like and like the stuff they buy doesn't make any sense because they only bought it
They
because it's on
buy
sale.
what's
Some
on sale.
people buy the same thing all the time.
Yeah,
Some people buy it's the household. These are what the kids like.
yeah,
This is what he likes. This is what I like. This is what she likes.
yeah. And
You
other
know,
people only buy for the meal. It's like this is the
exactly.
meal I'm making.
That's
So
what I
these are the
that's
ingredients I
literally
need.
what we do. We only we she'll find something on TikTok or Instagram and that's what's for dinner tonight is whatever the hell she finds. And then she has to go to the store after work and find all these super specific ingredients that we may never use again.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just we have truffle oil in there just because one dish needed truffle oil. Now there's truffle oil inside of the
yeah,
cabinet. And some people even do that for the experience. But you specifically already have people that want to buy from you.
yes.
Sell them a product.
That's
Just sell it to them.
plan.
Sell
Exactly. Sell
yourself.
it.
Sell it to them. Sign it for them.
Mm,
Ship it to them.
yes,
Charge them
exactly.
for the shipping.
Yes,
They will buy it from you.
they will buy it. Exactly.
It's like it's every single time it is a limiting belief that we have that either it's wrong to make money or I don't know how, or it's like people don't need to buy it, or I just want people to read. It's like people tell themselves all these
Yeah,
things. Start keeping score in money and things are going to change
yeah,
exponentially. Keep scoring quality because the quality gets
yeah,
money. Start keeping score in money because it's going. And this I was a hardcore socialist. I was a vagrant. I was homeless for many years. Keep scoring money because it makes everything you do make more sense. And then you know when you're wasting time, and you know when you're being productive when it
yeah,
makes money.
yeah,
When you have to pay off an expense, when you buy some shit and you have to pay that off, you're focused because you need that money back now.
yeah.
When it's all free, when it's all favors, and I'm not gonna like boost, that's good too.
That's good too. Yeah,
That's beyond money, that's beyond finance, that's beyond value, that's beyond anything money will ever buy for you. That's the actual thing that people seek. And I think the honest truth is that when you are an artist, it's not about the money whatsoever because you can live off of compliments. You can literally live off of the sensation of people having read your book and tell you it's good for years. It's more substantial than food. It's more substantial than a hug. Someone saying, I read your book and it was the best thing I ever read can fill your belly for years and years to come.
yeah. But there's the flip side,
It can't pay your
and
bills.
that's those negative reviews
Yeah.
that can, and if you, especially if you fixate on them, and only take the criticism and even take the
Tell them
criticism
thank you.
personally,
Tell them
it,
thank you.
yeah,
Every
it's
negative
much
review,
better to say thank you exactly for taking the time to read the
take their
book and
power away.
reply, because the
Take their
point
fucking
is that,
power away.
yeah, because
Excuse me, I'm
reviews
sorry.
are reviews. Amazon doesn't do the good or bad calculation.
I don't
They
care.
just do the number game.
And
So 50 reviews is 50 reviews. If they're all 1-star reviews, Amazon is still going to push the 50 review algorithm.
they'll read it because it's
boost.
bad. They'll read it to see if it's really that bad. Is it really? Is it really? Is it really that bad?
Absolutely.
There's this one guy.
The
He
thing
does
is
like.
also that you can't control people's reactions. So there are going to be people who will hate your book, and there are going to be people who love your book. And I would actually like to use an example from my own experience to just put that into perspective. So I published my first book, which was a fairy tale retelling in 2 parts. And so the first part is very much like Ella Enchanted in the feel and the tone of the book, mixed with
I love that movie.
Pride and Prejudice a little bit. But then, it's like, this is the teenage girl who's naive and doesn't know anything. And then she grows older, and that's the second part of the story. It's like she's becoming an adult. She's coming into her own. And but so the point was, so I published 2 books. pretty close together. I couldn't afford to do it on my own, so I did a crowdfund and managed to publish my first two books thanks to the help and support of those around me. And then, I started like networking and getting people together and trying different things. And so one of the things I did was I entered it for an award. And the other thing I did was I live in Sweden, so I went to a book fair and I kind of networked in the Swedish community. And there's an association of Swedish authors, and you pay a membership fee and you send them your books, and then most of the time they let you join. So I think it was about 8 weeks after I sent in my request to join the Swedish Association of Authors, I received this fine letter, which I am going to frame, which states that regrettably they cannot accept my they cannot accept my application because my books do not achieve the literary and the literary quality. Sorry, I'm kind of like just paraphrasing here, but the literary quality that the exalted Association of Swedish authors
Fuck those people. Fuck those people. Fuck those people.
2 weeks later, I received information that I had won, not one, but 2 literary classics awards. So
there we go. There we go.
People who love your books.
Yeah. Fuck yes. Every rejection is protecting you. Every single rejection you get is protecting you. Every single one.
I mean, I understand that the Swedish Association of Authors is a group of snobs who do not understand that fantasy can be literature.
Their heads up their ass.
That's their thing. That's okay. They have the unfortunate baggage that, Sweden and Nobel Literature Prizes, etc., etc. So that's their problem. I'm perfectly satisfied with, the fact that the English-speaking world accepts that my work is pretty good.
You're a global author. It's like I'm literally in New Jersey right now talking to you. Like, you are an international.
But I could have let this kill my author career. I could have let that happen. I could have said, what is the point? Cried my eyes out and gone, screw it all. I'm never going to publish again. And then I would only have had these 2 books out. But instead, I pulled up my,
you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps.
I got over it. And yes, I have received some pretty scathing reviews. Some of them have had a fair point or proven that
they're gonna come.
The reader just doesn't get it. Because my experiences as a South African of German Italian heritage who lives in Sweden and has lived in Mexico, I have a completely different worldview and a different understanding of how the world works to somebody who grew up in a little community and has never left there. And it's okay for them to just not get that my half-elven girl who, is mixed race based on Swedish African mixed race look. I can understand that they don't get what that looks like because they've never seen it.
They
think that I'm, doing reverse racism by trying to say that a white girl is, because they see white and blonde instead of white with coiled but blonde hair. The Swedish mixed race is absolutely fascinating. I think they're gorgeous people, but they constantly get this thing of that they're ugly. And so I wanted to give voice to that in my book, The Companion's Tale. But my word, did that reader rip my book apart for my character.
But it's like,
okay, that was their experience.
It's a good. So one of my biggest fascinations in the world is professional wrestling, and then you have baby faces and you have heels. And a baby face's job is to get the adulation of the crowd, get people on their side, get people to cheer. But the heel's job is to disturb people to a point of utter contempt and hatred.
Mm.
And it's like when someone, they're usually a nice person in real life, but it's like they're playing a character, and it's like for somebody, your book, not you as an individual, your story, your book, it triggered them to that
Yeah,
level of such a great emotional impact. That's an achievement.
it is.
Because you're trying to invoke emotion, you're trying to invoke feeling. It's like one person, literally, my birthday was September 1st. On September 3rd, I had posted something about like single motherhood, which is like a big topic in like the Black American community. Like it's literally destroying the Black American community. The fact that we don't have families, we don't have
Mhm.
strong family values, and unfelt strong. And this is across the board. It's statistical fact. It's a problem that needs to be solved. And the only reason not to solve it is if you wanted to see everything just kind of fade away. This woman who isn't even like Black doesn't really understand like the perspective that I'm coming from. All of my books get a 1-star review. I
Mm.
had never been more hurt,
Mm.
but more motivated in my entire life. And it's like that's how someone sees me. That's how someone feels. That's how someone took what I said. And it's like I still have inner work to do. I still have longer to go, but it's like that did stop me for a while. That
Mm.
hurt.
It
It
does,
hurt a
and it does
lot
hurt.
because it's like more than anything. It's like I love women. I love I'm a heterosexual male. Like that's literally what I either it was a choice or it's like a biological disposition. But no, like I love women. I respect women very deeply. And it's like it hurt mostly because it's like I could tell that you didn't read any of my work
Mm.
because I have mostly female protagonists. I
Yeah.
have mostly female heroes. I have mostly female dynamic characters go, and it's like it hurts so much because it's like
I can see how a response that is not to the book, to the work itself, but to something completely abstract and
to
not
you as
related
to
to
you as
it.
a person, to
Yeah,
me as a
exactly. But
to me as
that's
a
not
person, not you, me as a person.
the purpose of reviews, and that that
It's
hurts
never it's never
definitely
gonna
because
it's
it's
never
personal.
gonna go away. It's
Yeah.
never gonna it's there forever.
However, I mean, you do have the upside that, it's like even the biggest authors out there with
J.K. Rowling.
thousands of reviews have 1-star reviews. And actually, I'm part of a group that, um, that promotes young adult science fiction and fantasy works. And they have a fun thing once a week. We look at the we guess the book based on its 1-star reviews. And it's they take like the most like hyped up young adult books. The most recent one was Kira Cass's The Selection. And I mean, ouch, those reviews are painful. And yet, I mean, these are books that have millions of followers and people who absolutely adore them.
So
So, it's like, it's an opinion. Reviews are an opinion. And so, okay, one person didn't like your book, but be appreciative of the 5 people who did.
it's visceral. Reviews are like it's very visceral
Mm.
too. Because
It-
we talked about it yesterday. It's like some people are very happy for you that you're an
mm,
author, but it's like there's so few people that have actually published a book. If it is the majority of people's goal and a majority of people's ambition to be published, to be an author, the majority of people haven't succeeded in that.
no,
So
no.
when you have, and it's like you haven't just published it, but you're successful at it
Mm.
and you're making moves in it, and it's a part of your lifestyle and it's a part of your being, it elicits that contempt and that hatred. You become
It,
the heel in their mind because you've done something that they will
that
never,
they
ever.
feel that they can't. And
No,
I agree with
no,
that. And I've
they will
seen a lot of
never. There's some
low
people that can be
ratings
an author.
where you can tell this person is just angry.
Yeah,
And it's got nothing to do with you. It's got everything to do with them.
it's both. It's both. It's how they view. It's how you made them feel. It's
Well,
both.
that's one thing I actually I will contest, because we cannot make anyone feel anything. They choose to feel that. It's and certainly it can be an
we
ingrained response.
influence it.
It
We
can be
influence
something, a
it.
reaction that they have trained their
I get
brain to make
no,
over and over and over again. So it just comes like
she had a good point. You know, she had a great I looked at it, she had a great point. I don't think she needed to
right.
do it, but like what she said about me was at the time and period, no, I should have done some reflection on how I was talking about women, especially with like the tone of men. It's like we don't make anyone, everyone has to control themselves. I agree with that.
Mm,
But like we definitely do sometime. We make someone feel happy. Like we put forth effort into making someone feel better about themselves. Sometimes the lack of effort, sometimes the carelessness in how we come across, sometimes just not being mindful of like the social climate that we're in,
mm.
it can make what we say very, very offensive. And it's not intended to be,
It's not
it's not meant to
intentional.
be, but it's like it's unintended because it wasn't even other people's feelings weren't even paid mind to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's what becomes offensive about it. Is like you didn't even care how it would come across. You didn't even care if it would offend anybody. And that's like I feel like that's kind of what I got personally tangled up in. And you could just learn from it. You could just grow from it. We don't force anyone to feel anything.
No.
But as art, as specifically as myself with my mind, I do want someone to have a reaction like that, either positively or negatively. It's
Well, I suppose that's what gives the book meaning, is
yeah.
that it does. It reaches the heart. That is important. Absolutely. It's another one of my fairy tale
Please go
retellings.
through all. If you
This
have your
one is
book with you, please go through your books.
yeah. Well, this one, Naia's Wish, is a retelling of a Grimm fairy tale called The Nixie of the Mill Pond, and it's one of those stories that rarely
The
makes it
next
into
four
any of
minutes
the
are all yours.
Grimm fairy tale collections. And it was, I was just really curious about this one because it's about a naiad, a nixie living in a pond,
Is that
who
like
makes
a
a deal with
mermaid?
the miller, and then the deal is he will gain riches because he's poorly, he's all he's struggling financially and can't take care of his family, and she will take the first creature, first newborn creature whose cry he hears. And then it turns out that it's his newborn baby son that he didn't even know was being born while he made the deal.
Fuck. God.
And
Damn
so
it.
for me, it was like, well, why would the naiad even want a baby? I mean, what could it do with a baby? And in the original fairy tale, the parents actually manage to keep the boy safe, and he grows up and he becomes an adult. And then an accident happens once he's an adult and married. And then it's his wife who actually, rescues him from the pond. And so I had this book. I have 3 female characters. I have this naiad who wants a baby. Why? And then I have the mother. Well, what would a woman do when your husband comes home? You've just, pushed out his baby, and he comes home and says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I've just given it to the naiad in our pond."
Dead.
What's
He's
that
dead.
going to do to a woman?
He's dead. He's dead.
He's dead.
He's out of there. He's out of there. What
And then, of
you
course,
had one job.
the man's wife later on in the story, and her adventure of going and releasing her husband from this magical curse. And I find it really interesting because a lot of younger people have gravitated to it and have read it.
It sounds incredible.
And yet, because the naiad is my exploration of infertility, and the mother is my exploration of resentment, and then the young wife is, she suffers a miscarriage as well. So there are a lot of women's issues in my book, but there are women's issues that a lot of older women will appreciate more than the teens and early 20s who haven't even begun thinking about these things yet. Yeah. Wow. And it's kind of been fun seeing the reactions from some of the readers. One of them was very, very strongly opposed to some of the situations in the book. And I was like,
why?
Well, no, I don't mind why. That really doesn't matter. But the fact that she had this stronger reaction tells me that one day in her future, it will serve her because she'll remember. That's all that
what was
means.
the what was the reaction? What was her reaction?
She was very upset about um, the section dedicated to the naiad and her desire for a child. She felt very uncomfortable about that and didn't think it had any place in a fantasy, a fairy tale retelling. She was very upset about that part. and one of my beta readers
Conversation upsets a
told
lot
me
of.
that I could absolutely not market this as young adult or even potentially as new adult, because you do not put the mother's perspective into a book that aimed at younger readers. And I'm like, what? Wait, excuse me. Children should maybe start thinking about what's going on in their parents' minds.
Exactly. Or just know for
That might be a
themselves.
good for them.
I would say even just know for themselves too. It's like a lot of women my age growing up. I guess what kind of led to the collision of the two ideologies is that I don't know, it's like it was like nothing that I have ever seen before. Being in college in America in 2011 to about 2015, it was wild. It was crazy. Like your whole life, you're told you gotta take a girl to dinner, you gotta treat her nice, you gotta write her poetry, you gotta buy her flowers, you gotta get her gifts, and it's like there's a lot of guys willing to do that kind of shit until you go to like an American college, you get your heart ripped out of your fucking chest, and it's like a lot of women, a lot of young women don't consider like, hey, maybe you met the man of your dreams. Maybe one argument made you two break up
Mm,
when you should have just apologized and fixed
mm,
it from either side, and it's like you had that guy. And now it's like you're 30, you're looking, you're looking, you're
yeah.
looking,
And you're
and it's like,
resentful at the world because what you're looking for is hard to
it's,
find.
and
I also
he's
found
got,
that a
yeah,
lot of
sure.
women don't know what they want. Like, I was pretty clear on what I wanted right from the start, and I found
Yeah,
my husband pretty quickly, and he ticks all the boxes. I mean, sure, he comes with his flaws, he's got his issues, and we work through those. We fight through them too sometimes, but
you have
it's a
to
partnership. You have to,
have
but
good
it's also you
conflict,
need
not
to know
bad
what you
conflict.
want. If you don't know what you want, you cannot find the person, because a model doesn't exist. You need to
I
know
think
what it
that's
is that you
the
want.
so the specific post is like very relative to this. I don't know if I showed it to you before, but it was like, God, I hope it's gonna. I guess it does sound offensive in retrospect, but it's like what women call oppressive, and it's like a woman with her husband and her child,
Hmm.
and then it's like what women call liberation, and it's two drunk girls coming home from a party. Something that I'm very visually familiar with, having gone to college. Like this, that was literally every weekend. That was from Thursday to Sunday. That's what you saw from 8 o'clock to 3 a.m. with someone's daughter, half naked in the cold, walking home drunk from a party. And it's like, why?
Mm,
It's like I don't mean that. I mean that like very fatherly way. I have a kid now, and it's like I wouldn't want that for my son.
yeah.
Let alone for someone's daughter. I wouldn't want my son coming home. I remember one party, I didn't go to many parties, but the guy that invited me had gone off, disappeared. When he found me, he was plastered. We were
Mm,
in Ohio. There is snow everywhere. And I'm
right.
like, I have to now. I didn't have to. I could have left him there and let him figure out
Mm,
his life. But it's like we're going to get this kid
yeah.
home.
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. It's the concept of taking responsibility. It's
Yeah,
even if
and
it's yeah, and
it's
it's
not.
difficult, but I I
But that's what they want. It's like
it's
it's
something I
ultimately
find
what
very
they
fascinating
want.
because one group in society keeps pushing the fact and trying to claim that there is a massive conspiracy and oppression going on. And the more I dig and the more I look into the situation, the less of that I see. So, for example, on the case of women earn less than men on average, I see in the research for people in their 20s show that women earn more than their male counterparts
Yes.
across the board.
Single unmarried women are the top earners in America.
America, but they are the top earners in the world.
Jesus.
Now, take a man in his 30s. Most men in their 20s are unmarried. They are not putting in their, their all. They're not giving it their best effort. I work with a lot of kids in their late teens, early 20s. It's their first job. And what I see is the boys, they just want to have spare cash to burn on the weekends. So if they can keep a roof over their heads, they have clothes on their backs, and they have money to spend on booze on the weekends, they're happy.
Yeah.
So they're not going to put in their all. But what happens a couple of years or maybe a decade down the line? Well, hey, the girlfriend's got a bun in the oven, and
you gotta get going there. You gotta get
themselves together, because all of a sudden there's this massive responsibility, and their income just skyrockets.
It has to.
Applying themselves.
What are you gonna? It's like you're either gonna have to start making more money, or you're never gonna find peace.
Yes,
it's like
you're going to live with the regret of it for the rest.
Exactly.
Of your life.
You have to live with regret every day. Every day of your life, she's gonna remind you. She's gonna remind you the good you do and the bad you do.
Taking responsibility, you have the women withdrawing slightly to focus their attention on other aspects, like the child that they're now having, and that needs more time. So women work part-time, and then they earn less, because the man is working 8 to 16-hour days, and the woman is working 6 to 8 hour days.
Yeah.
Or not working at all, because she's allowing her partner to take care of her while she takes care of the home. And my sister is like that. And I am incredibly proud of her for having gone against the grain and said, like, my family comes first. And I was like, okay, great. That's wonderful. You do that. Do you? And don't let anybody put you down just because you're doing something that's considered a traditional patriarchal role. Like, we have to do what's right for us. We cannot try to force ourselves into a box.
We're human.
It doesn't work. We're human, and we have to do it our way. Otherwise, we'll stifle ourselves.
If that little 2 to maybe you got a foot, I don't know. That it's not that different. If that's the only thing out of like 5 to 6 foot of a human being is that few inches, or that or whatever the hell it is that someone's dealing with, that's not enough. There's a whole fucking person there. Yeah. And I don't understand why people are so obsessed with each other's sex lives, or so obsessed with presenting their sex lives publicly. As a heterosexual, I don't talk about myself. I might write my sex things I like in a book privately for people to purchase and buy. I don't post it on. So it's like my sexuality is not this whole lifestyle. Fucking, I just have basic human needs
I don't
to get met.
I don't consider the ultimate foundation of my identity to be what I have between my legs and who I fuck.
Thank you.
No,
that's no one's business.
Make Astrid.
No one's business. That's my life. That's what we do. I don't want to, and it's like I don't even want to know about any other. I don't even want to know about anyone else's sex life. For it to like.
Yeah. I like the diversity of books, because you can cater. There is so much diversity in the human experience. Each human being is unique, and we have the same brain chemistry, but how we trigger that brain chemistry depends
on our experiences and our memories.
It's fantastic that we have literature that works for African Americans, and it's fantastic that we have literature that works for gay people, and that we have literature that supports women and uplifts women, and we have books that do something entirely different.
Yeah,
and that's wonderful. And I think that's what's so powerful about storytelling, is that it's really something that is uniquely human. And we all have the capacity to tell stories.
Basic quality for life.
And we learn from the stories. We can,
it's carried our entire species.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly,
we can learn from stories.
And it's always going to be there. All a movie is, all a music video is a story. You still need a writer.
Yeah. They are
You
songs,
have
songs of stories.
do you have your books with you?
Yes, well, the print ones, yes.
Okay, let's show them off real quick.
Okay, sure. Well, I've shown off all the fairy tale retelling, so let's go for the last one. This is Gisela's Passion, which is a
That's
retelling of the
amazing.
ballet Giselle, which was actually based on a Slavic folktale.
That is that is the most incredible book.
It is. I'm very, very, very proud of my designer. She's an absolute wizard. She got it. She just nailed it.
Yeah, she's worth the money.
It's definitely hands down. I've tested a couple of designers, but Emily she's in a class of her own.
Shout out
And
to
because
Emily.
I'm one of her first, long-standing customers, I get a great discount from her. So I'm really happy. She's awesome.
That's why you got to build those. That's why you got to build the network. You got to build those
Exactly, is what
relationships.
the networks are good for. And Emily is definitely worth the money. Here is the apprentice storyteller. She also did the design for this one.
It's also beautiful.
And again, it completely captures the genre. If you look, just this one is fairy tale retelling. It's high fantasy, and female protagonist, and that's the focus. It's also got a hint of romance in it. It's a love triangle story, so you can see it's probably got romantic elements and all of that just from the cover. While this one is there's
Fantasy.
the spaceship in the background and the dystopian city, and the barren wasteland.
People are with dystopia, like, holy crap, that's so popular now. Zombies. Sorry, I'm listening. Sorry.
So the apprentice storyteller and the sequel, Finding the Way, is essentially it's the Alchemist by Paulo Coelho meets Star Wars. That's essentially what I was doing. Is I wanted to write something that weaves in my passion for transformational life coaching, and my love of stories, and at the same time kind of mashes together fantasy and sci-fi. So it's been a lot of fun. This series has been a heck of a lot of fun to write, and I'm working on a third book. I need to do some personal growth to get through that one. So it will come when it's ready. But it
comes when you put the work in.
That's right. And this particular series has been very fascinating for me because it now has a spin-off. So originally the idea was to write something in the lines of 1001 Arabian Nights, where you have the frame story, about the storytellers, and then embedded or nested into it are the tales that the storytellers tell. But during my certification training as a transformational life coach, I had this epiphany that each of the short stories I had was actually linked to one of the key principles of transformation of the course I was learning to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And a short story just didn't have the scope to actually focus on those principles. So I decided to instead turn it into a series of a sort of frame story with the storytellers, and the tales are mentioned in the book, but I actually have those ones separately as novellas in the Word Mage's Tales. And now here is where all this experience and the marketing and thinking ahead and bringing things together. So I have now a collection of 2 novels on the shorter side. So they're 300 pages each, with then the novellas that are all 100 to 120 each. And those ones I have separate. Each book is an individual book, and I market it as that. And the tales are standalone, so they don't have to be read together. But I had my books in Kindle Unlimited, but it was, it just wasn't making enough money because the page count was just too short to make any sense. So the plan for the next year to year and a half is to repackage it into 2 volumes of the Huldrian Histories, where one is this frame story with all of the little extras inside, and the other one is the second book with all of its extras inside. And then we will have 2 massive volumes
Kind of like,
with
yeah,
several,
the
like
collection.
800 pages easily each.
And then sell
And
it
then that I will
for real
market
money.
specifically for Kindle Unlimited.
Oh,
And so then those people who like short
sell it
books
for
read the
cash. Make a box
no,
set.
no.
Sell it for cash.
Well, that's the long term, is then to also to do with Kickstarter and do hardcovers, special edition hardcovers. That
Yeah,
yes,
you're smart. I
pretty
like that
pretty
you
much that.
plan things out. No, no, I get it. I get it. I vibe. I vibe. I love it. I love the way that you do it. I love the way that you do it.
And then over and above the books that I write for myself, because that's what I want to read, uh, I also give back a little bit. I have mentioned a bit about the author community and connecting with authors. But one thing that's always been very important to me is charity work. And I believed when I started my writing journey, and especially my publishing journey, that I would need to make X amount before I could then start supporting charities.
Mhm.
And one experience changed that completely for me. So I was part of a group project, a box set that was aiming for USA Today bestseller listing, but was also supporting a charity. And the experience of Enchanted Kingdoms just changed my view entirely on how these things work. And so last year, when Russia invaded Ukraine, I got incredibly upset because it's just, more victims, more children. And
Senseless war.
it's close to home. I mean, we are suffering with inflation. The price of electricity has gone insane. And I wanted to do something. And particularly because my paternal grandparents were children during World War II and have suffered because when the Second World War ended, they had to just suck it up and move on, never had any support over what they lived through.
Yeah.
I felt particularly angry about the situation. And so I sent out a call on social media. I just said, I'd like to put together a charity anthology. Here is a sign up form. And, I accept submissions until the 1st of June. And then I'm aiming to publish for the 24th of August. That was when we published it. And 13 authors joined me. A cover designer donated the cover, so donated her work. And it's absolutely incredibly powerful cover.
Yeah. It
One of the
touches.
co-authors is Ukrainian American, and she's an artist as well. So she
You gotta
actually
show
has
me that.
created illustrations for the book, like
So,
this one
so
here with
hot.
the
It's like,
dove of peace and the bombs.
yeah,
It's powerful stuff. Yeah.
I know. Oh my
Or
god.
the
Show it
bomb,
off. Show it
the
off.
bombed home, the bombed block of flats with the girl and her balloon. It's a very poignant book. It's multi-genre, so there is something for everyone in here, and I've had a lot of very, very positive feedback from people who were just blown away by, even if it's a fantasy story that has nothing to do with Ukraine or with war,
Just
human
being
wars. It's still, we got the psychology right. The authors really wrote from the heart. Every single one of the authors was passionate about this project to the point where they put their hearts and souls into it for 3 months. And you can see it in the product that this is a project of love. Absolutely. And intense desire to make a change. And it has raised, what's it now, close to $600 in just over 7 months now.
Jesus.
And so it's like you can make a difference. We had absolutely nothing. The production costs for this book was zero.
Wow.
It's like we did all our own graphics for the marketing. The cover designer donated the cover. 3 editors joined us to edit the book for free. It's like you can achieve the most incredible things when you are open and willing to work with other people to do something.
Be egalitarian. Screw capitalism.
And it was an incredible experience. And as I mentioned, I've also worked together with a different group on the Enchanted anthologies, which are for environmental conservation. So our third book is coming out in June this year, which is to support communities affected by wildfires. So Enchanted Flames, with magical stories about magical fires and creatures of the flames. And it's,
Everything sounds like
it's fun because it's fun. It kind of offsets the very individualist experience of my other work. So it's nice to have the balance.
it seems like a good combination of like Star Wars and classic D&D fantasy storytelling. Is that fair to say, or is that like off-put?
Well, you see, this is the beauty
No,
of
not the
fantasy.
children's
It's
book.
so diverse.
Yeah.
It's just whatever your mind can come up with, as long as you structure it well enough and create a believable world.
Mm-hmm.
You can do anything with it. And I've seen some pretty incredible things. You love anime. I will definitely tell you about this book. One of the authors who's actually joined in on the charity books for environmental conservation he's got a series that to me is the perfect combination of a Japanese monsters and demons style show like Norarion no Mago, and sword and sorcery style like Rurouni Kenshin. And so it combines these two, and it's about a fallen shrine fox who finds himself in the Tokyo underworld of a dystopian future Tokyo run by dragons. It is incredible. It is an absolutely incredible series. It's called the Atlas Dystopia Apocalyptica series by Xander Cross, and it just totally captures my imagination.
I think I follow him on.
He studied Japanese, and he writes, the names. You can tell that he knows what he's talking about, and he dredges up the most incredible monsters from the Japanese lore, and he's really studied it really, really well, and he's so passionate about it. And then he works in all of the environmental.
Sounds like very Miyazaki.
Very, very Miyazaki in terms of the environmental aspect. He's but also harder. Miyazaki is very soft. He lets you come to your own conclusions about it. Xander is like, it's like, if we don't fix this now, we are screwed. He doesn't beat about the bush. He's very focused.
It sounds very pointed. It sounds very connected. Having dragons run things is definitely like the people that control are hoarding their wealth. Well, it seems very
exactly. And everything has a purpose and a use. And if it's not to make more money for the dragon and assemble more power for the dragon, then it's gone. It's cut.
That is a very good. That's American foreign policy right there. Yeah. Holy shit! It's us.
Yeah, but you see, this is a nice thing about fantasy because you can put it, just far enough.
Oh, I love that.
It becomes.
I love that.
Objective rather than subjective.
That's why
it's like it's not personal anymore. It's them over there, and you can like engage with the issue without taking it personally.
That's why I've refused to write. Like my main novel takes place in like an alternate world. I have refused to make like I do like a lot of like character pictures. I've not made any definitive. These are what these people look like pictures because like when I first started this, it was to get away with writing about geopolitics and foreign policy without getting my head cut off, So if I put like physical context, it's like, oh my God, it's more so like philosophies and ideologies rather than like what people look like.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible. Xander Cross. What's the title again?
The Atlas Dystopia Apocalyptica series. He's got 3 books out so far and is working on the 4th one. it's going to be a long series, but he's very good at ending each book in a good place. There are no cliffhangers. he's, it's a real skill, because
Each story has to be complete by
yeah,
itself.
it needs to be complete. It needs to be able to stand by itself and to give you that sense of, okay, that was good. I'd like to read the next one, but like that was complete. That's rounded off.
And then you can
I
wait for
hate
the next one.
the, just you
'Cause
need to
then-
buy the next book now, because that completely.
that will work if the next book is already available.
Yeah.
It's not going to work if, like, there's this one woman that has, like, I was doing like market research for like a video I was doing. It was like 69 freaking books in a
Oh my
series.
God, no.
You know,
Life's too short.
all to market, all Amazon ad like processed. And I like shout outs to her, like,
Yeah.
you did it. You did it.
As a reader, it's like ever since the fiasco of Robert Jordan and the Wheel of Time, I have like, it has to be really good for me to go past 5 books.
I feel that. Like, it's just, what do you write about at that point? And he was brushing his teeth.
It's the thing. It's like you have an overarching plot, and then the world is saved. Okay, so now the world is saved. Let us not do what Disney tried to do with Star Wars. Don't try to save the world again in exactly the same way.
Or
Don't do it.
Or the Marvel with Thanos. It's like they kill Thanos and then
they bring him. They need to bring him back because they need a villain. It's like, well, just let the villain.
Why don't you just be creative? Just be creative. I hate. It's like, it's the same thing with like when they turn these characters black. It's like, we don't want your white characters.
Yes,
keep them. We don't want to be your white characters.
Write new stories.
Or hire black writers.
This thing like I read recently.
You don't have to hire white people to write for black people. You can hire black people. It's not racist to hire black people to write for black people.
Yeah, exactly. And also so there's a lack of diversity in fantasy from up until 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. Yes, that is a fact.
Yeah.
Let's make more. Let's create new stories. Let's not rehash the old stories and try to insert our ideology into something that doesn't fit with what the author thought.
Just make new stuff.
With a flawed human being.
Just create. Just be creative.
Create. Exactly. I'm 100% with you on that.
That's the one thing I said about the girl that did that to my book. It's like I can tell that you don't have any discernible talent in your life. Because people with talent don't do this. People that know what it's like to work hard on something, that know what it's like to be creative and be an artist, they don't just shit on people's work. Even if they don't like your work, they're going to make their negative criticism as constructive. They're going to give you something to work with that you can improve, whether they liked it or not, because then that's the process. They're going to amplify. The people that hate, they just like, I don't like you. I'm gonna fuck up your life because I don't like you. It's like
the thing is, you can leave them to be their own weights and their own anchors, and you can just keep sailing for the sky. just keep going up.
Bothered me so much. Bothered me so much. I'm not over it. I'm just not. I'm not at that point yet where it's like. It's not that motivating. It's not that motivating me.
The little nasty demon on our shoulders, who keeps telling us that we're imposters, we're not going to make it, and that what are we thinking? Who do we think we are? And how dare you try and make it? You're not worth it. You don't deserve it. And it takes a lot of fortitude and strength to just say, well, that's not true. I'm not going to allow that to be my truth. I'm going to go and I'm going to keep going until I get it right.
I think that's why I allow it to keep motivating me, is that I don't feel like I'm in a place where it's like I'm in my philosophy, but given like my entire freaking culture, everything I was taught, I don't feel like I'm at a place where I could tell her that she's wrong.
Mm.
You know, I think that's what bothers me so much about it is that I don't consciously want to feel that way. Just like some people may not consciously want to see themselves as racist, but it's like, but the shit that comes out of your mouth, you know? And it's like, it's the same way I feel like with men discussing women topics. It's like, I like when men check men on men topics, allow women on women topics. The crossover doesn't really work for me sometimes because when a man talks about what a woman is going through, but he's not doesn't understand that it sounds really fucking judgmental, and it doesn't. You have to give so much pre-caveated context of, oh, but I sympathize and but I agree and but I love women and but I to say but you should fix this, and then it's
Mm.
all muddled through with all, and then
Muddled
nothing
through
gets.
anyway. Yeah.
It's like there's no sense in point. It's like I just don't feel like I'm at a point in my life where I can say, you know what, you called me a misogynist, and I feel like you're 100% wrong. It's like, no, I may not consciously agree with you, but subconsciously, no, maybe so. You know, just building maybe not like a hatred towards women, but like kind of being molded and shaped by like these societal roles, being molded and shaped by these Christian values, being molded and shaped by a traditional mindset. Like if that is viewed as like if someone's context of that is watching a woman get abused, then she can't get a divorce. She can't get away from this guy. She has no financial access to anything, and it's like everyone's pressuring her to stay inside this abusive situation.
Mm.
No, like I would definitely understand why a massive amount of women would say that is never going to be my lifestyle. I
Yeah.
get it. But if someone's context of that is having two parents in the household, having
Mm.
a great childhood, and having like someone told me that like when a business says that we're like a family, it's like some people's connotation of family isn't positive.
Yes.
Some people had a
Very
very.
negative views of family. Absolutely.
So it's like pressuring them
Yeah.
into that system,
Mm.
pressuring them to have kids, pressuring like you're not going to have value. Like just for me personally, having a kid is very purposeful, very meaningful in my life. But after 3 years of that, I still had to find other things in my life that were purposeful and meaningful too. Maybe
Yes.
not as equally to my son, but it's like my son can't be. One day he's
You,
going
well, you
to.
yes, you can't put all of yourself into him because then what's left of you?
And what can
You
I
need,
teach him? What can I?
yeah.
What it's
So
like?
what
It's
can you
having
teach
a
him then?
woman. It's like if all your life and effort is dedicated to keeping this woman in your life, she's not going to find you attractive because you're not going to do anything that she finds attractive.
Mm.
You need to go out in the world and do shit and slay dragons and slay demons to tell her about the stories of what you've done. You can't just sit there next to her painting her fingernail. You gotta slay some demons and come back and tell her about the demons you slayed. You got to show her how to slay her demons. You got to do interesting shit to be an interesting person to keep her interested. And it's like a lot of guys want to bitch and moan the other way around. It's like in America, we have like this red pill philosophy right now, but it's like I feel like I'm gold pill. It's like once you're done being afraid of women,
Mm.
once you're done being afraid of divorce, once you're done being afraid of losing your kids, you have to raise your kids. You
Mm.
have to keep this woman in your life. You have to keep this woman happy. You have to figure out how to work together. And it's like I don't see a lot of like people helping with that.
Mm.
And it's like
It's an interesting thing about the ideology on this particular topic, and
yeah.
how things are framed, and for example how fairy tales get lambasted for giving the wrong impression. But for me it's like, well, no, you're just interpreting the fairy tale wrong because there's another interpretation. The prince doesn't rescue Cinderella. Cinderella is good and kind despite the suffering that life has doled out for her. And
She was dealt a bad hand.
she overcomes that, and he's her gift. He's her reward. She gets a
Yeah.
prince as her reward for being a good and kind person, despite the most awful things happening to her.
That's interesting.
That's just one example. But one thing I really find fascinating is how this idea of romance and marriage is all like the happily ever after. Everyone wants happily ever after, but no one stops to think about the fact that happily ever after is a heck of a lot of work. You have to work for it. You have to make your decision every day that this is it. You're going to stick it out. You're
Yeah,
going
I was
to
trying to
be
avoid
with this person for the rest of your life. And that is great. This is your happily ever after. It's work. But you have to you have to do it.
You dropped like the most bomb line as soon as I inhaled. Like,
Sorry.
hey, you mic dropped. That was incredible. I've never heard that interpretation of Cinderella before.
Yeah.
But it's like it's true. It's like I had to do like this paper my first year of college. It was a thesis on like African queens of antiquity. So I
Okay.
literally had to, like, a decade before this happened, I literally had to go through barrels of history, look through all the African queens that predate any
Yeah.
written text, any written
Yeah.
language, and there are I
There are
wouldn't say
tons of them.
millions,
Oh yeah.
thousands. There's thousands. It goes
Yeah.
back to about 40,000 BCE. This is before any recorded history of people have anything in Egypt, and it goes back deep. If you look for it, it's there for any.
That's fair.
But it's like I think most of these movements form. Any of these hate movements, any of these like
Yeah.
professional, I call them professional victim movements.
Mm.
The KKK, the feminist movement, a lot of black separatist movements, a lot of like LGBT. I was a huge LGBT. A lot of it is professional victim. It's like you have to be able to understand your opposition to work
Mhm.
together.
Yeah.
It's not, and I don't even like using the word opposition because that gives off the wrong tone. But people that simply disagree with you, you
Yes.
have to understand the reasons why they didn't like the book to make your book better, to make your
Fair.
writing better.
Yes.
You can't just throw it away, and so that's why I say thank you. It's
Yeah.
like because it's like okay, that's your perspective. I can take that into consideration, and I have right? every single bad review I've gotten, I've improved with it. I haven't just, and I say thank you. I haven't just boiled into hatred. I haven't just boiled into just madness and rage. At first, I do.
Yes.
As soon as I see it, like absolutely. But after that, it's like okay, I got my 5 minutes of crying, and let me do something with this because they probably felt the way they felt for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't. A lot of people don't have that kind of perspective with things. It's like people have a
Yeah.
legitimate reason for
And it's very much a situation of this feeling that the personal opinion is the only truth.
yeah.
And instead of being open to, well, there are many different perspectives and each one offers a facet of the truth. And if you work together, you'll build a diamond. But
Yeah.
otherwise, you're stuck with just like
Oh my god.
nonsense. Yeah.
I used
But
to
what? Sorry.
what were you gonna say?
I was just to go back to the fairy tales because another one of the fairy tales that gets like a whole lot of bad rep is Beauty and the Beast. And the
I was hoping
interpretation
you would do
there,
this one.
the
I was like in my head, I was like, do Bell next. Do Bell
interpretation
next.
of Beauty and the Beast is this idea that she's stuck with this beast-like abusive guy and waiting for him to turn into Prince Charming. But that's not
There's
the
no idea he's
message.
a prince.
That's not the message of Beauty and the Beast. The Beauty and the Beast is about him being willing to give up his slob beast-like nature for her.
Oh, that's accurate
You
as
know,
fuck. That's
that's what
really
it's
what it's like,
about.
though.
So
That
when he's
really
the
is
right
what
guy, when he's the right guy, he
Wow.
won't do all those things anymore. He'll stop. And if he keeps on doing those things,
He doesn't like you.
then
He's not,
he's not the right guy.
or you're gonna have to do a
That's
lot more
what I thought.
laundry. You're gonna have to it's like, no, for me to do all this laundry, you're gonna have to go out there and work by yourself. You're gonna have to have that tough conversation with him.
What? Yeah, it's just that there's so many interpretations to stories, and when you get the wrong end of the stick, you can be very harmful.
That's
mean,
what I
yeah.
was gonna say. I used to hang out with the Mormons when I lived in East Orange, New Jersey. There was like a Mormon temple like right behind my house, literally from my backyard. You could see it. So one day I meet the missionaries, and they have like this kind of saying with okay, so you have like these 7 wise men, and they've never. There's seven. I'm sorry, seven blind wise men. The blind part is specific, and they've never seen an elephant before because they're blind,
Yes,
obviously.
yes, I
So
know this one. Yeah,
okay,
it's
great,
so
great,
good.
great.
Tell
So
it,
they're
tell
all
it. Tell
touching.
it.
So they're all touching the elephant. They're all touching the elephant, and they're all touching these different parts of the elephant. One's touching the tail, and he thinks an elephant's a snake. One's touching the leg. He thinks an elephant's a tree. Everyone's touching a different part of the elephant and seeing something in it, and they call themselves wise men, but they're all wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of how they push their propaganda. I would say no, I don't want to say that offensive. Like they're actually like, very nice, very honest, very wholesome people,
Very wonderful people.
and
Yes.
they're just nicest people you ever meet in your life. Like just they live it. They live it. They don't fake it. They don't just preach it. They are doing their. It's like I would compare Mormonism is like a school, and it's like it's a mode of how to live the life, and everything else is just kind of like pandering and then hoping you figure it out by yourself.
Yeah.
But they really like they take a hands-on approach and they make sure that you turn out right. I some leave, but I've met some really great people that are Mormon. I don't want to shit on Mormonism. They go
Well,
through
you
they
see,
go
but
through
this
enough.
this is the thing. This is the thing. It's like individual humans all
Yeah.
have the capacity for either incredible kindness or scum of the earth evil.
Yeah.
And
some people like being
it doesn't matter
like
where
being
you
evil.
come from.
Yeah.
My husband has a wonderful quote of his own that I am going to use today. He says, I have traveled the world and no single nation has a monopoly on assholes.
He sounds like an amazing guy.
It's true. It's like, and neither does any nation have a monopoly on angels.
Yeah.
It's
Everyone's
balanced. Everywhere has its problems. Everywhere has good people and bad people, and everyone is just trying to do the best they can with what they've got.
some like the definitive value of what a good person is. Some people are actually trying to do the right thing,
Yes.
and a lot of people aren't trying to do. They're not trying to do the wrong thing, but they're trying to
No.
do nothing.
But they believe that they can't do anything.
Some
Because-
people do.
Because
Some it's like and I
doing
feel
the
like
right thing is hard.
I feel like we mix in the people that are really evil with people that are well intentioned, and I think that's wrong. I think some people are
That's
neutral.
tricky, yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people are neutral at best, and they don't want. I had an ex president who's like, because I was like, really getting into like my religion zealousy, and she's like, I don't want anything to do with spiritual warfare. It's like I don't want anything to do with God. I don't want anything to do with the devil. I just want to live my life and be left alone.
Yeah.
And that's what some people are actively bad people
Yes.
on purpose. They like it. They like it. They like being bad people on purpose. And that's them, the haters.
Yeah.
And you got to be an amplifier. Or you could be in the silent majority,
Yes.
Do you have any power? We're at like 152. You said this was going to be better than yesterday, and you're definitely right. You're right about everything. You're right about you just.
I am not right about everything, but I do my best to open up to great possibilities.
It is 2 hours. I don't know you outside of that. But do you have any parting remarks, any parting ideas you would like to share with me and the peoples?
Yeah. Right from the heart. Do what is meaningful for you. Do your best. And when you reach that level of, well, now I've hit the ceiling. I cannot go any further by myself. Find the people that can help you make it better.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Work with other people.
Yeah.
All right. It's
Okay.
been
It's been awesome. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you for coming back on day 2. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. We waited 2 years for this, and thank you.
It's good.
Have a wonderful night. I gotta start making dinner or buy pizza. I don't know what we're doing. All right. Have a wonderful night.